The media in this country can keep playing these little silly games about Black people getting coronavirus more than anyone else and won't tell you the truth that these Black folks are your essential workers. But see, one thing about coronavirus, it doesn't care who you are and what your title is and what your status is and who's the preferred people in the country. It don't care. So, ladies and gentlemen, Fauci in quarantine as Trump projects confidence and urges states to reopen. What a bad look. I do agree with Trump on this. What a bad man. So this came out in The Guardian, May 10th, 2020. Fauci in quarantine. So the White House is stepping up its precaution to try to stem the spread of COVID-19 in the West Wing after Dr. Anthony Fauci, the U.S. government's top infectious disease official, and two other senior leaders in the fight against COVID-19 began self-quarantining on Sunday following positive tests for the virus among staff. News that the three core members of the U.S. Pandemic Task Force were having to go into some degree of isolation. Why do you always try to act like what you're doing is totally different from isolation like everyone else? Somewhat isolation. Ooh, these people and their play on words could not come at a worse time for Donald Trump. The president is trying to project an image of confidence and resolution as he encourages states to reopen their economies while his administration is proving unable to keep the virus at bay, even within the White House. And this is making you protesters look stupid too, by the way. Fauci, 79, a calming face of the Trump administration, otherwise chaotic pandemic response, has begun what is being described as a modified quarantine, involving some work from home after he had low risk contact with a White House staffer who tested positive. He is joined by Dr. Stephen Hahn, Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, and Dr. Robert Redfield, Director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, who have both gone into 2 weeks of isolation. Fauci will still testify before a Senate committee next week, but he will do so remotely. The scramble to protect Trump from potential infection was prompted after two White House staffers tested positive. And they're talking about Pence's press secretary and Trump's valet. They included a U.S. Navy officer who served as a valet for the president and the press spokeswoman for Vice President Mike Pence, Katie Miller, who is married to senior policy aide Stephen Miller. A spokesman for Pence issued a statement on Sunday night in response to news reports claiming the vice president was self-isolating. Well, I just saw an article that says he is not going to self-isolate. That's Mike Pence. Pence has tested negative every single day and plans to be at the White House tomorrow, the statement said. The positive tests are reported to have caused alarm within the White House, given the cramped conditions in which officials work. The New York Times cited a senior official as saying Trump himself was spooked to learn that the valet, who on occasion serves him food, had not been wearing a mask Really? He was spooked by that? Well, then he should be spooked by himself not wearing one. Senior officials took to the Sunday talk shows to try to counter the impression of internal shambles around the president. This man, I don't think you can repair this, but okay. Larry Kudlow, the White House National Economic Council director, told ABC this week the two positive tests were insignificant. Really? So I guess anybody with it is insignificant in your eyes. In the terms of the White House complex, which is an enormous place, right? It's an enormous place where the infection can spread like wildfire through that staff because you got so many people there. At least 500 people, probably much more than that. Those who have tested positive is still a small fraction, he said. Kevin Hassett, a special advisor to Trump on the pandemic, told CNN the State of the Union extra precaution were being taken. Nobody was being allowed to have an audience with Trump. He emphasized unless they had tested negative. This is not reassuring. You're watching the president's men fall to the virus. And he wants us to have confidence in going back out there as the people around him are falling sick. Oh, man. Oh, mm-mm-mm. The West Wing, even with all the testing in the world and the best medical team on earth, which they're not, none of the above, is a relatively cramped place, he said. There are things that have to happen in that West Wing, even though the building is a little old and poorly ventilated. Sounds like a perfect environment for an infection. The crop of infections in the White House poses the administration a problem, not only in terms of keeping the president safe, but it also provides an inconvenient framing to Trump's efforts to come across as upbeat in the face of the contagion. And I told y'all back when I heard about this coronavirus, I told you it was going to end up right there at the White House. I said this months back. You can go back and listen to I said this was going to end up at the White House. I know what I'm talking about. He has been encouraging states to reopen their economies, even though many cases they are ill prepared for the health challenges of doing so at a time when the virus is still on the rise, which is stupid to reopen a state, which means you're never going to get past this first phase that you're in at all. Trump has tried to appear in control by pointedly refusing to wear a mask in White House meetings and even touring a mask making factory in Arizona last week without carrying any protective gear. The Associated Press reported that Trump chose not to wear a mask because it would send the wrong message. What? That you're protecting yourself? That's the wrong message? Okay. And impact his reelection chances. A mask is going to do all of that. Ooh, man. Ooh, we are being led by these folks, y'all. We are being led by these folks. The latest data from Johns Hopkins University shows that the US now has more than 1.3 million confirmed cases of COVID-19, almost a third of the global tally. There have been 78,855 recorded deaths in the US. although the real figure is likely to be considerably higher. And he thinks wearing a mask look bad. No, the number of deaths in this country looks bad. If you're talking about something looking bad, that's what looked bad. But the president wearing a mask, no, that's just his ridiculous thinking. Trump is having to deal with further bad optics about his pandemic response, thanks to his predecessor, Barack Obama. I don't think ain't nobody paying attention to no damn Obama. In a leaked call, first recorded by Yahoo News, Obama told former officials from his administration the Trump administration handling of the crisis had been an absolute chaotic disaster. When that mindset of what's in it for me and to heck with everyone else is operationalized in our government. Well, I don't see that as a big deal. How many people are really paying attention to Obama? I know I'm not. Trump lashed back in a tweet on Sunday morning, claiming to be getting great marks for the handling of the coronavirus. No, you're not. No, you're not. A lot of people are very upset with you, Trump. You may not admit it, but they are. He went on, compared that to Obama Sleepy Joe disaster known as H1N1 swine flu. No, that was not a disaster like this is, okay? H1N1 did not shut down the economy. Nobody lost their jobs over H1N1. Okay, you did not have 78,855 deaths from H1N1. So try again, Trump. Try again. So I guess that was his comeback for what's happening. H1N1 was, we're supposed to believe and be naive about this whole thing and believe that's worse than coronavirus. Ooh, Trump, get a clue for real. Kudlow also hit back. He told ABC News, with all due respect to the former president, I really don't want to get into a political back and forth here. I don't know what he's talking about, he added. I don't understand what President Obama is saying. It sounds so darn political to me. Well, everything you're saying is political. Oh my goodness. Whoa, these people are no good. They are no good, y'all. So now Trump is trying to promote the message of reopening the country, y'all, while the people around him have to go into quarantine because of coronavirus. This is not very encouraging to anybody. And again, it makes you protesters look really stupid. Now you got the very top officials in the country that have to go isolate now. And you're out in the streets talking about open up the country. Every governor that see this should be adamant about keeping everything shut down and just totally ignoring you. This actually kills your protest. It really does. Ultimately, it is. Even if you don't believe it, it is. And Donald Trump standing there as his own people have to run into isolation because of this thing. And at the same time, he's trying to tell you to go right ahead and reopen the country. Do you know how stupid this looks? I agree with Trump when he said it's a bad look. This is a bad look. But wearing a mask, that's not a bad look, Trump. You really need to get a clue on that. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.